springtime. Baseball, soccer, all the things are happening. Softball, volleyball, kids are almost out of school. We do spring break. We're getting ready to do this, that, the other. There's nothing wrong with those. But today we're going to step into a sharp and uncomfortable message from the book of Haggai. Why are you building your own house while God's house lies in ruins? Welcome to the HHP podcast. My name is Chris Franke, and I am the senior pastor of HFF.church in Oklahoma City. Join me and others from around the country as we talk all things Bible, church, and family. We may be right, we may be heretical, but that's for you to decide. Drop a like, a share, a comment, subscribe, and let's get to it. So let's dive right in. Here's the setting. The people of Israel had returned from exile in Babylon. God had brought them back to the land with one clear purpose: rebuild the temple. But when they got there, they immediately went to work on rebuilding their house. Life got busy. Oppositions came. I'm tired. This isn't working out. My schedule is so full. Resources were tight. Comfort became appealing. And slowly and quietly, they stopped building God's house, which was the manifestation of God's kingdom, the kingdom of heaven on earth at that time. Not because they rejected God, but because they didn't prioritize him. They had reprioritized him, and not as number one or two. Listen to what God says through Haggai in Haggai 1:2. These people say, the time has not yet come to rebuild the house of the Lord. Isn't that interesting? They didn't say no, they wouldn't rebuild the house of the Lord. They said, not yet, in the future. And that's the danger. Delayed obedience feels like wisdom, but it often is disguised as disobedience. How many times do we say, I'll get serious about God later? Once things settle down, I'll be back. Or when I have more time, I would really like to pray more or read my Bible. But here's the truth. If God's house isn't first, it won't ever be. You're not going to fall more in love with God while you're running more errands or coaching more baseball teams or soccer teams or whatever it is. If anything, you're just going to get busier. Then God gets direct. In Haggai chapter 1, verse 4, he says, is it a time for you yourselves to dwell in your paneled houses while this house lies in ruins? Paneled houses doesn't mean that they had homes. It means that they had finished, decorated, and comfortable homes, while God's house, still broken, neglected. Let that sink in. They had time, energy, and resources, just not for God. And if we're honest, this hits close to home for all of us. Then comes one of the most repeated commands in the book: consider your ways. God points out something they couldn't ignore. You sow much, but you harvest little. You eat, but you never have enough. You earn money only to put them in a bag with holes. What is he saying? You're busy, but you're not blessed. You're producing, but you're not fulfilled. Why? Because they had their priorities upside down. They were out of focus. So here's the principle that we see in Haggai. When you put your house before God's house, things don't work out the way it should. Not because God is mean or he's punishing you, but because you're out of spiritual alignment with what the kingdom of heaven and the kingdom of earth should be. Jesus later says this way: seek first the kingdom, and all these things will be added to you. But see, Israel had it flipped. Seek first your comfort, and maybe we'll get to God when we can. And it definitely wasn't working. So let's bring this into our modern culture. We're not rebuilding a physical temple. So what is God's house? God's house includes the people of God, the mission of God, the presence of God in our lives. Paul says we are the temple. It's anything that advances his kingdom. So the question becomes, are we investing more into our careers or our comfort, our image, than we are into God's mission, people, and presence? Because if we're investing more into our careers, comfort, and image than we are into God's mission, people, and presence, you're putting money in a bag that has holes. You're eating but will never be fulfilled. But here's the good news that the scripture tells us, that people had actually responded. In Haggai 1:12, it says that they obeyed the voice of the Lord, and when they did, God responded immediately, I am with you. Don't miss that. The moment they realigned, God's presence was reaffirmed, not after perfection, not after completion, after their obedience. So Haggai isn't really about construction or this or that. It's actually just about priority, spiritual priority, because you will always build something in your life. That's the truth. The only question is it your kingdom or is it God's kingdom? And Haggai reminds us, when you build God's house first, everything else finds its proper place. So let me leave you with this today. Where's your time going? Do a time audit. Where's your energy going? Where's your energy audit? Where's your resources going? Where's your financial audit? Because those answers reveal what you're building. Maybe today isn't about doing more. Maybe it's about realigning with what actually should be the priority and comes first. We're called to build his house and watch what he does with each one of our houses.
If this podcast has blessed you, please consider supporting by visiting our website and making a donation. For more resources, blogs, podcasts, please visit us at HFF.church. Looking for a church home? Join us for Saturday Church in OKC every Saturday morning, starting at 10:30.
Got questions, if you got doubts, if your faith survived the fire and you're still working.